There are a few things in life more horrifying than realizing that you might need help. But what I've also learned is that it's also one of the most liberating feelings you could ever get. I know that sounds a bit weird because one of the things I struggle with most is when I feel like I've got no control and when I feel trapped. But so many times I've gotten down and felt bad and not in a good place was because I went so long with no control without realizing it. And when you realize that you don't have control of a scenario, you can't ever do anything about that to change. Where once you sort of realize exactly where you're at and what problems you're going through, suddenly it becomes a whole lot easier to realize, wait a minute, this is what the situation is. This is what can't change. And then that just leaves you with knowledge of what can change. And once you know what things you can change and what things you can do about what's getting you down, suddenly you know exactly where you need to go to start feeling better. I know that's a bit of a ramble there, but I haven't done any form of like rehearsal or planning for this. This is more just speaking from where I'm at. To give you an idea, I did a video back in January going over about the struggles I was having with work-life balance, leading to a bit of anxiety, and I wasn't feeling good. That actually was shot during a week off I took, where I was finally able to just put work aside on the back burner, make time for myself, my wife, catch up with friends, and could truly have some crisp time. And then, I do that every year, then suddenly I'm ready to go back to work and things are great. Well, this time round, I didn't feel great when I went back to work. I had the exact same feelings I had beforehand, that same level of, dread or just emptiness. And I thought, you know what, we're in that busy period, we're out of it now, so maybe it's just going to get better. And as time went on, it didn't really start getting better at all. I still felt that exact same way. Now, don't get me wrong, work got better. I'm actually in a pretty good spot with work, but that level of, not lack of motivation, but that level of not feeling it hung around. The level of feeling it never came back. So suddenly I started to realize, does that mean it's the job? Is it the work I'm doing? Can I not be there anymore? So I've had conversations about the idea of one day leaving and looking for other places, and I've got my name out there. I updated my resume. I literally got my boss down as a referee. But at the same time, while that was happening, I also realized I'm actually still liking the work that I'm doing. I'm still liking my job. So it's not work. It's not that that's getting me down. But then why do I feel so bad? Like, how come every day I just feel like whatever I'm doing at that time is not what I want to be doing? And then when I'm at home, I'm actually finally spending time either doing things I enjoy, like playing games. I got back into Magic the Gathering. Whether it's spending time with my wife, finally catching up on the TV shows we want to watch, the movies we want to watch, working in the garden together, things that I generally enjoy. In those moments, I actually feel happy. But then is those moments in between, I just feel flat. I feel down, and then it just keeps coming up, keeps getting brought back. The negative feelings keep rising to the surface, and suddenly when I'm doing things I like to be doing, I just still feel down because these really bad thoughts of not having control or not feeling comfortable and not feeling happy, feeling trapped, just dominate every single thought no matter what it is that I'm doing. Alright, so I've taken the day off today. I organised a shift swap, but I figured today will be the easiest day for it, where I am going to, first thing this morning, go to the doctors to get a referral to see my psych, as well as go on a mental health plan. Done this once before, a couple of years ago. They ask you a series of questions in what they call a DAS. And yeah, last time I did that, it pointed heavily to anxiety, low on depression. So a couple of years later, things are quite different in my life. So let's see how that goes. So I just finished the GP appointment for the mental health plan, plus the referral for the psych. Well, I went in there, basically just explained, hey, I've been feeling pretty rough the last couple weeks, months. I want to go back to seeing my psychologist. They said that I do need to get another referral and got another mental health care plan, otherwise it's going to cost a fortune. So that's why I'm here. He took a look at me, asked me a couple of questions before going down to the mental health care plan. At no stage did they actually say the word depression. Last time I went, it was just for anxiety. But after talking to him for a bit and then answering the questions, his reply was, yeah, it definitely seems like signs of depression with the anxiety still there. So, yay. I mean, well, it's good that it shows that I'm starting to understand my own body a bit more, my own mind a bit more, but at the same time, it validates a lot of the way I've been feeling. Not saying that it ever would be invalidated, even if it wasn't depression, how I feel has still been valid, but it does make me realize that I'm on the right path. Things aren't the easiest right now, but I'm doing the things that need to be done. And yeah, next up is I guess the appointment with the psych, which is going to be on March 31st, so that's two weeks and a day away. So now I just got to get through that, try and feel as normal as I can until that point. And yeah, hopefully things start to get better. I've now got myself the rest of the day off, which is nice. So probably gonna go to the gym. I normally do that first thing in the morning, but hey, I figured I'll allow myself a bit of a sleeping because sleep's been a bit rough. And who knows, might jump on some Valheim later. One of the things that actually has been a pretty good constant throughout all this that's made me feel consistently good about myself is going to the gym. I know it's a wanky cliche thing to say, but this whole thing basically not started, but really came to a tipping point with my body image issues and how I felt about myself and how unhealthy I was. And I always felt like I was losing control over everything else going on in my life. And with the help of my now wife, I learned that, hey, this thing I can take control of. Start exercising every day, which I've gone on about a few times, and even now on days where I don't feel crash hot or days where I don't feel like I'm being the best Chris I should or need to be, I still find time to go to the gym. And I mean, some days it's hard to have the energy to push forward, but one thing I've learned is consistently that this is something I do have control over, and it's something that makes me feel great about myself, even if it's for that short moment. So yeah, got a day off. Today's the day that I'm going to be looking after myself, and I'm looking after myself by going to the gym. Going to do legs today, so RIP me, and yeah, hopefully I can walk out of there. That was a lot. Last week, well, throughout most of last week, even though I said just before that I'd normally go to the gym as a nice bit of an escape where I could have some control and feel good, I was so flat that I did what I could, but I felt like I wasn't really making much progress. I wasn't really pushing myself. I just didn't have the energy or the effort or the drive to keep going. I'm probably feeling a little bit better now than what I was last week, because that one I was just eager to push myself more and more. Smashed a lot of personal bests, so really happy with what I've done, but I'm also now concerned for my ability to walk for the rest of the week. But yeah, I mean, the simple fact that exercise can, release endorphins to make you feel good and feel good about yourself is definitely true for me, because tell you what, if I could feel like this all the time, I wouldn't be going through half I'm going through, I guess. Mental health is quite a thing. I mean, you saw my videos that I did earlier in the week where I was, very clearly not the best, really just doing what I can to keep it together. Well, since those days I've actually been feeling a bit better. Like, I've had definitely moments where I still feel absolutely garbage, but then I've had days where I would really sometimes went the entire day feeling fine, and then there's days like yesterday where I started off feeling really, really good. Then partway during the days it kept going, I actually felt really, really garbage again, and things really got ahead of me. Then I don't know if it was distractions, I don't know if it was just availability to do other things, but I suddenly started feeling like, I started feeling a bit better again as time went on. And what's funny with those scenarios is my situation in life hasn't changed. My situation with work personal. None of that's actually changed in those times. The things that get me down are still getting me down, but I don't know if it's just the peaks and valleys, ebbing and flowing. I don't know if it's always having something else to do that makes me just feel a bit better or what. But yeah, I mean, the other pattern I noticed was, so I did those first bunch of videos with the gym and me in my house. That was done on Tuesday. I had work Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and for the most part of those shifts, I actually felt pretty good. Wednesday and Thursday, I pretty much went the whole shift feeling decent. Like when I did feel down, it was very, very minor, very, very short term. But then with Friday, I had a really bad, I guess, bout of just feeling down and worthless for a huge chunk of the day. And I'm trying to think what made Friday different. Now, the shifts themselves were, Friday was a harder day, I'm not going to deny. There's a few more issues, a few more hiccups, but then I actually realised a bit more. A lot of it was sleep. I got a good night's sleep Tuesday night and felt pretty good for most of Wednesday. Got a good sleep on Wednesday night, didn't start work till late, felt great. And then Thursday night, due to partially my own fault and obsession with Dark Souls, and then partially due to the weather, then partially just due to how things were going, I had a pretty bad sleep, and I think I maybe got 4 hours, and then suddenly I felt like shit the next day. I realised that there's probably a very good correlation between getting a good night's sleep and how I feel the next day, because sure enough, yeah, no sleep left me feeling like shit, and the rest of the nights I got sleeping felt pretty good. And I compare that to last week, and it's a bit of a fun little paradox chicken and the egg sort of scenario, because the week before I felt garbage for the entire week. But the problem is, and I've had this issue for years now, is when my stress, anxiety are at a high, I struggle to sleep. I struggle going to bed. When I do go to bed, I stay awake all night. I barely can get any level of shut eye. And then I wake up, I get up the next day feeling like shit. And then yeah, because I got no sleep, I keep feeling like shit throughout the rest of the day. And then when I go to bed that night, because things are bad, things are running through my head at an awful pace, I once again get no sleep. The reason why I'm doing this video today is because just to show that I actually am feeling better at the moment. Not things are great, there's no dramas ever, but like today is a better day. A lot of this week was days of better days. I felt very accomplished. It was a week where I was able to take control back, and I was able to do things I wanted to do, and I was able to succeed in things I wanted to succeed in. It can be silly small things, like I made great progress in, the games that I'm playing. I got to get a lot of time talking to mates. I'm doing well in Dark Souls. I got good, as they say. And then at the gym, this week was the overload week, so I've spent the whole week setting personal bests every single day, and I felt great. It just shows that just because you're feeling down right now and things are bad and there are things that you can't change, it doesn't mean that every day is going to be a bad day. It means that you can still have good days. You can get control back over things and just focus on those things you can control, and suddenly you just feel so much better. Sorry, getting a bit out of breath. Walking while talking is, a lot. One of the other things I'm excited for is, it's a small thing. It only really affects me, but next week, I think it's the 25th, it will be 6 months since I stopped drinking, and that's a milestone I never would have guessed I would have reached. And hell, I'm so glad I did stop drinking, because with how I'm feeling right now, if I was still also constantly under the influence of alcohol, who knows how bad things would be. Things are feeling good right now because I know what I can control, and that's what I'm making matter. The things that are out of my control, I'm just not letting them have that power over me anymore, because if I can't do anything about it, and then that's all that matters to me, I'm basically telling myself that my life is filled with things that ultimately don't matter, or I don't matter. And deep down I know that's not true. Sure, at times that's the only thought that ever runs through my head, but to quote Epictetus, the more power we give to things we don't control, the less control we have. Alright, so it's been about a week since I last filmed, and yeah, not too much more to say. There's definitely a clear correlation between my sleep and how I can tend to feel, because this week was a pretty intense, stressful week work-wise, but I got good sleep almost every night, and even when things were getting really rough, I was always in control and I was feeling good. So that's definitely a positive. Definitely felt better the last couple of weeks, which is showing good improvement. I'm aware that obviously the things I'm dealing with, I'm still dealing with, and I do actually have my psych appointment in 3 days. And it's sort of funny because if I had the appointment 3 weeks ago, it would be very, very different to how it's going to be when I have it coming up. But at the same time, it's good that I'm still going to do it, because end of the day, I could be feeling great now, but those things that I've been dealing with, I'm still going to have to be dealing with, and I'm still going to have those rough days every now and then. Thank you, neighbours. And these videos are good. They're good for me as well, because it's good to remind myself that sometimes I can have some really, really shit times, and I can have some really, really bad days, and without much actually changing, I can have good days and great days. I mean, I do know that since Dunnex changed, there's every chance that the bad shit comes up again, but at least for the time being, it's things are good. Like, honestly, things are good. I'm happy to see it. I just got to remind myself of these moments, because I also know I'm not far away from probably having another shit day. But hey, we can get through it together. I think probably my biggest takeaway from this last couple of weeks is the amazing combination of depression and anxiety is, with your depression making yourself feel so down about yourself and so worthless, you will then always think of scenarios where you can paint yourself in a bad, negative light. And then the beauty of anxiety, of course, is you start looking at scenarios that have happened to you and interpreting it in ways that make sure that that is the way that you're seen. And if there's a scenario where there's a slim chance you could be coming across wrong or negative, that's the only situation that exists. And you need to remind yourself that that's not always true. And yeah, I know there's no logic in this. You can't just snap of a finger and suddenly things are good again. But you just got to remember that just because you might feel like there's a chance that everything is the worst case scenario, if everything around you is telling you that it's not, maybe you should listen to the world around you. Because if my worst case scenarios were always true, I would not have the circle of people around me that I have today sticking by me every step. So hey, maybe the worst case scenario isn't always the sure thing.